We are about to launch season 33 of The Ultimate Fighter, which is really something pretty incredible. So I want to say thank you to all the athletes that are here in the room with us. Without you guys, this would not have been possible. So thank you all the fighters that are here who have contributed to the show. So we want to have a great talk with the creator and some folks who have been on The Ultimate Fighter and, of course, the coaches for this season. So why don't we bring all our guests right up here. Why don't we start with Mr. Craig Piligian, who is the co-creator and executive producer of The Ultimate Fighter. Come on down. Yeah, you can come on down here with me, okay? And then after that, of course, Forrest Griffin, who won The Ultimate Fighter, won. He also then went on to become the light heavyweight champion. He is in the UFC Hall of Fame, and he is also vice president of athlete development here at UFC. Followed up by the one, the only, a man I had the good fortune of working with at UFC tonight, Mr. Daniel Cormier, a former two-time champion, two-division champion, also a Hall of Famer, and the coach of the upcoming season of The Ultimate Fighter, which debuts tonight. And last but certainly not least, Chael Sonnen, the man, the myth, the legend. He is also a Hall of Famer. He is a multiple-time Ultimate Fighter coach and really just a raconteur, but you guys already knew that. So why don't we just get to some of these questions, and you guys will have a chance to answer some things or ask some things as well after. But, you know, Craig, I guess it kind of makes the most sense to start with you. And also, guys, I wanted to say, pipe in if we're talking. I don't want you guys to sit
No, Craig loves to talk. Let's just direct it at him.
I'm thrilled to be here.
Yes. Well, I would say congratulations to you first and foremost, but I feel like a lot of people would like to know the origin story of how this show first came together. Was it written down on a cocktail, you, Dana, and Lorenzo? How did it even first come to be?
I met Dana and Lorenzo in 2000 when I just came off of Survivor 1, and I met them. They were being represented by the same agency I was at. And we got together for 3-4 times to try to figure out how we would partner on the show. And I had a really strict deal at CBS at the time, so I couldn't do it. So they went off with another producer for like 3 years. I don't know if Craig knows this, but they were with another guy who was trying to get the show sold. And it wasn't until 2003, I called Lorenzo and I said, hey, I want to do this show called American Casino. And I said, I'd love to use Green Valley Ranch for the casino. He said, yeah, come on out, blah, blah, blah. I went out there, looked at the casino, and I told him, I said, did you ever get anything done with the UFC as a television show? He said, no, and that deal had expired with the guy. So we got back in together and started talking, and Dana and we all kind of sketched out what it could be like, and we came up with, you know, 16 guys living in a house. You go to an octagon and get the shit kicked out of you and you're beat out of the house, you know? So it was kind of an easy format to sort of land on. It was a really tried and true format, but it took 5 years. Literally, we had a 3-year hiatus between the time we first talked to the time we really got together, and it was because of a call to Lorenzo on American Casino, which was a really successful show that we did for Discovery.
It's very nice. Well, I would be curious though. Go ahead, DC.
I still watch Survivor.
You do?
I watched Survivor 1 and I still watch. I didn't know you did Survivor 1.
I did Survivor 1, 2, and 3.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I was in college when I was watching this, so I'm aging myself.
I was the oldest guy on the island when I did Survivor 1.
Hey, so can I ask you Survivor?
Sure, that's me.
All right. Is it real? Like, are they really out there that whole time? Or
Well, no, they're out there. It is. It's really tough. It's a
And
tough
you don't
show
bring
to
them
do.
something. They need a Snickers. You don't slip them a Snickers.
You do slip them Snickers.
I didn't slip anybody a Snickers.
But
some
people
of them
do.
ones. I don't know.
I'd
It
let
could
them
happen.
starve. I swear I'd
It
let them
could
fucking
happen.
starve.
It could happen.
I'd let them starve. Like, you guys will see this year.
You should do
No,
it.
you guys will see this year on the season. I literally starved a couple of them. Yeah, I did. I starved.
Wait,
You and me,
I starved a couple more.
You can drop about 40 pounds on Survivor.
Hey, I literally would starve them.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll see.
Well, so I'm curious too though, Craig, when did you know it was a success, right? Because you can be making something and you don't really know if it's working until you find out that it's working.
I will tell you, I knew exactly what was success is when Dana gave the speech. Who do you want to be a fucking fighter? I knew when I saw it in the edit room. I said that is a fucking brilliant speech, and I know he was worried about how many fucks he said in that speech because I remember talking to him about it. And
It was the right number.
It was
the right number of fucks, and we had to bleep him because it was on Spike at the time. You had to bleep the fuck. You know what the fuck he was saying. When I saw the speech, I said this is gonna be a fucking hit. I said because the way he delivered it. The guys in the show were looking at him like, oh, Jesus Christ, we came here to fight, we should fight. You know, there was a little boycott going on about you didn't think you were supposed to be there to
we felt
fight.
pretty stupid.
You were really stupid. And when Dana gave that speech, I just knew right away.
Yeah.
That's when I knew it was going to be a hit.
Well, you're certainly correct on
Yeah.
that. So, Forrest, when you heard that, I mean, the mythology is that you didn't want to be involved in the show. Is that even true?
No, I just had no idea it was happening.
Okay.
I
So,
was like a replacement with like 2 weeks. I was the last minute replacement. I had no idea. I didn't audition for the show. I wasn't trying to be on a show. I didn't even know if I'd fight again.
No, didn't we audition you? Didn't you come to Vegas and audition?
You did. You brought me in, but I was like the last guy because we had it was like I found out 17 days before the show.
Yeah, no, it's because we were a little disorganized. But didn't we have to talk you off the ledge?
Yeah,
You were going to
I
be a
didn't want
cop
to
or
get.
a
I
small
was a
town
cop.
cop.
I didn't want to get on the
You
plane.
didn't want to get on the
I
plane.
said I may have made a huge life mistake.
Yeah,
What am
I
I
know.
going
I
to do a
remember
reality
that.
TV show for?
And I remember
This is
talking to
idiot.
the producer saying, get his fucking ass on a plane.
Yes.
You were our
Yeah.
16th guy.
Yeah.
well, there you go. Well, obviously, you got on the plane. Obviously, you made history. Everybody knows that the fight with you and Stefan Bonner is known to be the thing that basically kind of either saved the UFC or put the UFC on the map, however you want to phrase it. It is something that made such a huge impact, and people still talk about that fight today. So I'm curious for you, what does it mean to you to have been in that fight and in such a pivotal moment for the UFC?
Oh, I mean, it's good. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. It's like one of the highlights of my life, though, you know? It's way bigger than having a kid, you know? Any jabroni can have a kid, but not any jabroni can be in the right moment and have the right fight to put the UFC. Because you got to think, all the guys on the show, we were like huge UFC fans, and like we didn't understand why it wasn't more popular, you know? So.
And is that the thing that you would say that you get recognized for most to this day? Because, I mean, you became a champion, you've done a lot of other things, but it feels like tough is imprinted in.
Oh yeah, that's one. Or like, hey, what happened with Anderson Silva? It's one of those too. Hey, bro, you gotta learn. Thick skin, brother, thick skin. Yeah, but it's
I'm
usually
curious
that.
too, though, for you know, the fact
Why do
that
they do that? Why do fans do
Yeah,
that?
because the
Well,
guy,
Hey, that was a bad night. I'm like,
the guy at Starbucks lost $200 and he needs me to know about it.
Yeah, come on, dude.
Well, it was a jab. I've always kind of wondered
Yeah,
myself.
yeah, right? But it was like the fourth time in like 3 minutes he knocked me
Can I
down.
tell you a story about that?
Oh, please, I was hoping that's what
Okay,
it
so
was
now that you
doing.
open the door, can I tell you a story about that?
Go ahead, DC.
Okay, so Forrest, you and we shared the same like management, and I went. It was the first time I ever been to a UFC. I never told you this. I've always waited for the opening. You know that after the fight, first time I ever saw a fight in person, I see that Anderson Silva looks like a rock star. Bro, you had an after party, and I was there. But I think I was the only person there.
Yes.
It was bad. I felt so bad. It was like the greatest thing ever to go in there and see all these people. Everybody was excited. And then I saw the other side of it, and I was like, man, do I really want to do this? Because if I lose, then nobody's going to come to the after party.
Thank you for coming.
I went, and you just didn't want to be there. It was the worst thing
I
ever.
was like obligated to be there.
That's
like,
when I knew you were like the
gotta get out of
man,
here.
Forrest. I knew you were the man at that point.
This is
Yes.
a man who runs out of the octagon after winning fights. So,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
what I mean, he
crazy.
doesn't even stick around for the interview.
But
The only party I wish I was at was when Aljo won that belt. Remember when Aljo won the belt? And everybody was like, don't party. You got kneed in the head when you were down. They were all drinking. Yeah, I wanted to be at Aljo's party.
All right, DC, I have a question for you here. So,
You have to understand that fight between Stefan and Forrest was historic for so many reasons, especially the UFC, because people started watching our finale, and we didn't have a lot of people in the arena at the time. I think we were at where were we? The Cox Pavilion, and it was kind of empty. We couldn't fill the seats. And the Kenny Florian fight was kind of, it was super quick, and those were our fights. We go, oh fuck, we really got to have a great fight coming up, and we're very worried. And then this fight comes out of the blue. But like Dana's speech to the fighters made the Ultimate Fighter, I think that single fight really launched the UFC. The people started thinking about it and seeing what happened. So I think that fight was just remarkable for the change in what people looked at and perceived the UFC to be. In one simple night, I think it changed history. I really do.
yeah, I mean, the story is that everybody kept calling each other, turn to spite,
Yeah.
you haven't seen this, can
Yeah.
you see what's on TV right now?
Yeah.
That
It was
revolutionary.
really incredible.
What about, when did you guys sign to do the second season of the show?
Right after that fight. It
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
right
nice.
out in back of
During,
Cox.
during
back-
Rich Franklin's still pissed about this. It was during the main event.
Yeah, it was outside in back of Cox Pavilion. That's a whole other story.
Nice, nice. So DC, listen, you've coached a couple of times. We know
Yes.
that you coach your guys up in Gilroy. Coaching is a big part of your life now. What is it about coaching on The Ultimate Fighter that appeals to you?
Just that you can go and see all these young athletes, and they're so excited to have an opportunity to be anywhere near the UFC. That's the best, because they don't recognize what is down the line. Like, we've had 16 guys come off the show to become world champion, right? The ones that start there, they don't know what the future holds, so they're so bright-eyed, and they just listen, they learn, they take everything in, and that's the best, because you only get to be like fresh in this game for so long. The guys on The Ultimate Fighter, they're pretty fresh. They're not like
The bitterness comes quick.
yes, the bitterness comes very quick in this game, so they're not bitter yet. They're so fresh and like
Your
excited.
first big loss, man.
Yeah, it's like, I can't stand this shit, man.
Well, they may not be bitter yet, but at the same time, I feel like each season that comes along, the
Well,
fighters are more prepared. They're more cognizant
They are.
of what they're doing. So how have the fighters evolved in terms of the ones you've seen even from the last time you
Well,
coached?
we were talking about this just recently. I was like, in the first, they're all professionals now. So you don't get as much of the craziness. I watched a guy, there was a clip where in season 1 or 2, some dude was like, I can't be knocked out.
Oh, yeah.
And he
Yeah.
gets punched in the face in the bathroom.
Turned out he could be knocked out.
He gets knocked out in the bathroom. Like, you don't get that anymore.
Yeah.
Now, you get some of the guys that don't like each other, and it's very like evident because there's not as much drama. But yes, they're pros now. They're ready to fight right away, and it's fun. Even from 2018 to today, the level is just way higher.
Right. Well, with that said, Chael, then what do you look for when you are scouting for your team?
Yeah, and thank you for that question, Karyn. It is interesting, though, what Daniel was saying. Like, the professionalism of our sport has changed the Ultimate Fighter. They used to show up looking for fights and whiskey and what I think Chris Lieben called it spritzing on one another, which the best I can remember was pissing on a guy's head when he was asleep. But I'm just sharing. And now they show up with meal plans. And
Yeah.
so it is just like a bit of a different thing. We had, I believe it was 11 countries and 7 different languages on this season of The Ultimate Fighter. And Karyn, they didn't use that as marketing. I'm telling you that now because I don't think anybody else has brought that up. And Daniel and I's job to be able to communicate, whether that was teaching skill or going after strategy or, trying to boost a guy up when things didn't go so well. But that's a very difficult thing when you don't speak the same language. And so I'm only offering that to you because I don't think the marketing department has revealed that there was 7 different languages. It's a interesting season as far as communication.
Department.
And one language they do understand is when they would lose, they understand my language. I just cussed them out and dogged their asses out.
But see,
It was so
I'm
bad.
curious though, DC.
She was like, "You're a sore loser."
You guys are good guy, bad guy, right? So we know the relationship between the two of you. But how heated is it going to get on this show?
Oh, we get like, it's like you can be friends with someone, and then like my best friend lived with me for like a month, and I put him on. So Chael and I, like, we're great friends, but after a while, I'm like, oh man, Chael picks on me and shit for no reason. Yeah. It's like,
I mean, because it does debut tonight, Chael, and you are so quotable, but I can't let you get close is one of the greatest things we've ever seen on TV. I mean, it's still spoken about today. So how much do you think about that when you're doing the show? The performance element of the fact to keep the show as compelling as possible.
And the one thing that happened, I think Daniel and I were both open to making TV, to wherever this goes, we'll turn the volume up. I can just tell you from my perspective, I mean, I went in there liking Daniel, but respecting is a different word. It's a much higher level of compliment. You have to see somebody do something. Daniel was sleeping 3 and 4 hours a night and still showing up on time and still motivating the troops and still keeping his eye on people and even having to go over to the house. My respect for Daniel went up, but my desire to beat him went up as that respect grew too. Like, this wasn't all moonlight canoes. This was more of a reason to beat a guy.
Nice.
And they weren't willing to cheat, Karyn. They weren't willing to go that extra mile.
I
Like,
mean-
if they had to, not that you should, but if they had to, we were.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Come on. Craig, in terms of making the show compelling, what do you think is the secret ingredient for you? Because certainly you've created other kinds of reality shows, but this one is perhaps the longest running out of the ones that you have created.
It's always casting. It's always who you cast. That's the whole show. And the coaches. I mean, when you get great coaches like this, they just stir up the controversy also, and they help the fighters. And in the beginning, the guys were a little more nutty than they are now. In the beginning, there just wasn't the training available when we first started in 05. I think all the clubs started after that, and it just grew, and it's huge. But it's about how we cast it, the chemistry in the house. And the house is it's just a pressure cooker. It doesn't matter how prepared you are to come into that house, it is a pressure cooker. And stuff just happens, and we don't plan it to happen. We don't make it happen. We don't.
You do. Yeah.
No,
You
no,
make it.
no.
You
No,
take
we don't.
wait. You take away cell phones, books, TVs, all other form of
Yeah.
entertainment, and there's
Yeah,
nothing
that's
for us to do but interact.
Yeah, I guess
That's how you create the pressure cooker.
There's that.
Well,
We
Mark,
want you to
If me
concentrate.
and my wife didn't have cell phones, we would attack each other.
Yeah, well, the problem is like you're in there with 16 people and you have to fight.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, no matter how cordial you are, at some point you gotta fight that person. So
One of the best scenes on that was, I remember two guys were gonna fight that afternoon. It was a noontime fight. And they were both eating Rice Krispies across the table from each other at 9 in the morning. I'm going and I was watching it and I'm going, these motherfuckers are gonna fight in
Come
like
on.
3 hours.
What
And try and
season
tear
was that?
I can't remember.
that must have been back in the day because
Yeah.
like now it was like even this year, right? With no spoilers, like the guys are fighting and they're such a great happy team. And then if two guys from the team win, and then you start seeing like clicks, your team becomes like split in half. And a lot of times it's by the language that they speak. Like the ones that can communicate, they're off on their own team. Like, and then you got a split gym, and then you're trying to navigate that without making one person feel bad and then the other person feel bad, and then trying to make sure that the guys that get beat still feel like they matter. Because you're like focused on the other guys so much that
Well, you still need them as training partners.
you need them as training partners, so you got to keep them motivated. It's crazy.
So
Can I just say, I love what Craig was just saying about the Rice Krispies with that metaphor. My uncle, and this was always called a reality TV show, but that's a little bit of a pejorative in my opinion. And my uncle won the Olympic Games, and he's the one that told me this, but he said, Chael, this is the toughest tournament in sports. And he said, I've never seen anything like it, except the Olympic Games, where you will live with the competition. You will ride to the venue with the competition. You will ride back, have a meal, sleep by each other, try to move on to the next competition. You could never get a Kobe or a LeBron or a Mayweather. It's a very special and a different feel for athletes. And I only say it because I would like these guys to get more credit. If you were a UFC veteran out on the open scene, that really means something. If you were an Ultimate Fighter veteran, you have answered Dana's question. Do you want to be a fighter? Yes.
I agree with you on that, and I wanted to ask Forrest something about that because you lived in that house. You saw what a good fighter looks like. You saw how a bad fighter, acts in terms of discipline, things like that. What lessons did you
I
take?
saw a bad fighter, how they act and how they still win that.
Well, that's what I'm curious about.
Talent
because
gets you pretty far.
yeah, you see every kind of fighter in the house like that, right? So what are some of the lessons that you learned that you then took into your not only championship career but Hall of Fame career?
Oh man, I was just telling them, like, for me, and this is why I pitched the Ultimate Fighter to guys, I had no idea how to be in front of a camera. I always felt awkward in front of cameras. Well, 3 weeks in, when there's a camera in front of you every day, you actually get used to it. You start being comfortable with it, and you start like talking to it. As far as the training, I learned so much from so many different people. You gotta think, I'd only ever made 205 one time for the Ultimate Fighter. If it hadn't been for Koscheck and Southworth, I don't know what I would have done as far as a weight cut, This was like only the second time I'd ever done it. I didn't really know what I was doing. Like, I learned just a ton about training. I learned a ton about even the back end of the business. I was like, oh, okay, this is why we do this day. Okay, now we're gonna take some pictures and punch the air. Okay, at the smaller shows, you don't do that shit. You just show up and you get in a bus and you go fight. It's honestly easier than the UFC. You're like, oh, you're media, you gotta get up at 9 o'clock. I was like, for me, that stuff was kind of hard and didn't come natural. I was like, but can I just chill and go fight Saturday? What do I gotta do all this other stuff for? Well, I had a good question for you guys. So I know the hardest part of coaching for me, but I guess for you, for managing the personalities, some guys win, some guys lose. What was kind of the hardest thing for you guys?
The weight cutting. Yeah. That was hard because some of these guys come big. That's one area where it's not as professional as some of the other things.
You know what you were signing up for?
But yes.
I did not know what I was signing up for.
Some of them show up really big.
Forrest's season was the toughest because it was 54 days. After that first season, we knocked it down to 38 days. But the first season 54 days
No,
in
no,
that
no.
house.
It was
with-
more because I was in Palace Station for 5 days before we
Before
started.
he started, it was 54, and then we made him do challenges in between
Oh
to
yeah, I
break it
remember
all
that. I
up.
remember that.
But it was 54 days with no television, no cell phone,
Right,
nothing. The longest time anyone's ever been sequestered in a reality show. It's 54 days, and I mean, it was brutal. So we had to change it after the
Yeah.
first season to get it down to 30. I think we're down to 30 or 32 days or 28 days
It's
now.
short
but-
now.
Nice.
It's
Except
really
when it was
short.
the live season, because I remember I worked
Oh.
the media day for the live season, and Michael Chiesa and I still joke about this. Like, I was the first woman he had seen in a long time. He was like, "Oh, look, can I touch your hair?" and things like that. Like,
Yeah.
the live season was
13
really a
weeks.
grind.
It was a grind.
13
weeks.
Insane.
Yeah.
Forrest said that after a while you forget that you're in front of the cameras,
Mm-hmm.
and we thank these guys for not like using some of the stuff that we say when we forget that we're in front of the cameras, because we say some crazy shit.
So for you, DC and Chael and Forrest, what are you guys' favorite memories from the show?
Go ahead, Forrest.
Forever, like as a fan and everything, because
And yeah, whatever, top moments or just memories or think what like.
my favorites actually come from 4 seasons. I just remember that so well. It was on Monday nights, and they even had a thing with WWE going on, which creates a great story when Vince McMahon didn't want
it
Dana.
always ran late.
Always!
Always pissed off. I hate wrestling.
Yeah.
No offense to wrestling, but it would be like our show wouldn't start till 10:10,
Yeah.
10:15, and I'm like, what? Because it was a live show.
They got the credit, yeah. And one thing about it, Karyn, is Team Quest was very involved because Randy Couture was the first coach. So I had teammates on that show. I had 2 or 3 guys. And we tried to break them every week. We tried to get them to tell the secrets and who won it. They never did. So every Monday, I mean, it used to be 12 times a year you got to see a fight back then. But then it was every Monday there was a fight on. And we had get-togethers and we had gatherings even on a Monday night. I've never had a party on a Monday in my life except then. So that's my best memory.
Nice.
Hey,
Actually, I want to follow up on that though, Chael. I didn't need to ask you. Was it different coaching it in Brazil? How different was that experience? Tough Brazil versus.
Yes, it was for a couple of reasons, which is I was so despised in Brazil, but I figured, that didn't carry over to production. Like production was in on the gag, right?
Yeah.
They're in that there's a good guy, bad guy. Well, they were not. That was not true. And so it was very hard to go anywhere and not be looking over your shoulder.
Gotcha. Okay, DC, favorite moments?
Okay, first off, I'll take you to WrestleMania. You'll love wrestling forever. You go to WrestleMania. Okay, so this one.
Yeah.
I had my favorite moment this year. There's a fight that you will see where there's so much blood. And it's awesome. The blood flies from a guy's face onto his belly. That's my favorite moment. It was crazy. I was like wiping him off, and I used like 4 towels because the blood was everywhere. It was awesome. That was probably my favorite moment. You remember that one? You were there. There was blood. There will be blood. Like, you want to talk about being a fighter? There will be blood this
There will be
season. It was
blood.
awesome.
I remember, that's funny you say that. I remember when Edwin DeWeese got the cut, and he had to actually was elbowing, he was holding the cut so they didn't stop the fight and elbowing with his
Are
other
you
hand.
serious?
He was trying to hold it because he was bleeding everywhere.
That might be my favorite
And
moment.
then he was like holding it. I think it was Edwin DeWeese, blonde hair, blood everywhere. Of course, basically if you dye your hair blonde, you're going to get a cut in the hairline and it's going to turn red.
Yeah, the blood is
Right.
crazy.
And I don't know, Craig, if you have a favorite moment, but it's one of those things where you don't have a favorite child. Do you have a favorite season? Do you have a favorite?
Season 1 was my favorite
Yeah.
season. It's just great to watch it. I had a few fun moments. There's a lot of moments. When Rampage ripped the door off, and when Chael was going to fight the other guy.
Vandalay, that was awesome.
Great season.
Hey, is there
Just a
like
lot
pride
of-
in it whenever you see one of those guys become world champ? Like,
Oh,
that has to feel
absolutely.
good, huh?
Oh yeah, you feel great when one of them goes
Yeah.
world champ.
16.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, and you've done a lot to introduce people. I mean, the season with Ronda and Misha was incredible. You had a season that launched, the strawweights for the UFC. You've done a lot of things, not only just launching individual careers, launching weight classes and really just increasing the awareness of the sport on so many levels.
I mean, the weight classes expanded, and when Dana put the women in for one season, that was fantastic. I mean, it just grew the sport. I mean, it really they would test stuff out, right?
Yeah.
In the show, we would always say, what do you want to accomplish this season? What is the goal
Right.
of this season? And we'd get together with them. They had certain goals or new weight classes or whatever. So it just was a great partnership between a television show and a sport. And it really worked.
We'll get to some questions in just a second here. I actually want to follow up on that though. Is there a different sensibility when you have female coaches, or is it all the same? Have you noticed like a radical difference in the way that the fighters compete or anything?
Yeah, I think there's just a difference between female.
It is cattier, right? Let's be honest.
But I think
Forrest,
the guys,
it's
when there were women in the house, the guys were a little more calm, it seemed. I mean, it seemed like they calmed down a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Always thought it was great to have them in the house. I always thought it was great to have a mixed house because it was fun to watch.
Yeah. Would you go back to it though? Yeah.
What's that?
We'll have combination seasons again.
Yeah, of course.
What is your hope for this show before I open it up to question? Yeah.
Yeah. Hope we do 50. Hope we have 50 years of it.
What would you like to see? How would you like to see it expand or evolve? It already has evolved so much.
I think every year the sport evolves. I think the people evolve. I think the people that get into the sport evolve, and I think we would be part of that.
The Ultimate Fighter, when you did the second chance and then Matt Hamill won the belt. Was
Yeah.
it Matt Hamill or Matt Serra?
Matt Serra.
Yeah, maybe one more of those. Another second chance. Or something.
That was crazy.
That was awesome.
That was
Like
crazy.
maybe they don't get a title fight, but like
Yeah.
maybe another comeback or something like that.
Well, and then he won the
There's
title.
so many
Then you
great
won the belt.
characters in the sport
Yeah.
too. So many good characters.
Yeah.
Just rich with it.
I mean, and again, "Let Me Bang Bro" is
Yeah.
is classic. So, has anybody out there got any questions?
That's it.
Okay, go ahead right there.
There was a story once that Joanna and J-Check and Piligian got into a fight after the cameras stopped rolling. Were you there? Did you see it? And what happened?
I don't know if I saw it, but I know they got into. Did you see it?
No,
there was
but
I know they were
when
beefing
she
the
said
whole
the women
time.
or whatever. So I did like the entry thing. You had me come over and show everybody in the
Yeah.
house, and I was uncomfortable between
Yeah.
the two of them.
Oh
I
no,
was
they
like-
didn't
I was
like each other
should
at
I
all.
maybe stay here the whole time and just stand in between them? Because these women
Really,
don't like each
really
other.
a difficult season between the two of them. They really didn't like each other. Yeah, that's the fun when they really don't like each other. It's when the coaches.
No, Misha and Rhonda did not like each other.
It was a great season. It's fantastic.
I remember that when you guys debuted that we were in Boston and we had a screening of it, and Rhonda was not pleased. She thought she came out looking less than favorable.
No,
But-
she was less than favorable on camera. I mean, it's just she wasn't that fun to be around.
She wanted to win.
She wanted to win. Exactly. She wanted to win. She wanted to win.
didn't come to get the T-shirt.
No,
she
she
came to
didn't.
win the fights.
All right,
She wanted to
DC.
win everything.
So hype us up. The new season debuts tonight. Hype us up. Why are we watching?
Okay, it's gonna be good. First off, there's a lot of blood, and there's some tremendous fights. Blood's always awesome, but when the fighting is at that level, and then you got Chael and I, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be a fun season, man. A lot of great fights, a lot of great action, some knockouts, some submissions. I mean, it really does have everything.
The toughest tournament in all of sports, Karyn, on the worldwide leader of ESPN. And I would just mention for you one thing, that there is 11 countries with 7 different languages. I think that's special. I think that's unique. The marketing department didn't really agree with me, but they went in a totally different direction. But this is truly a global event. It's the toughest tournament in sport.
I love it, Chael. Thank you so much for that. Chael Sonnen, Hall of Famer. Daniel Cormier, Hall of Famer. Forrest Griffin, Hall of Famer. And Craig Piligian, who will be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. Congratulations to you. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody, and enjoy the new season of The Ultimate Fighter number 33. It is quite an accomplishment, debuting on ESPN2 and ESPN+. You know it, you love it, you got to watch it. Thanks, guys, for joining me. See you guys.